Hello, service fans. This is Shep Hyken, customer service and experience expert, and I'm here to answer a couple of very important questions that were shared with me. The first question has to do with how important it is to deliver a customer experience if you're a monopoly. In other words, you don't have competition. Well, I've got news for you. You may not think you have competition today, but one day you will have competition. Where I live here in the United States, there were plenty of companies, electric companies, power companies, utility, cable TV companies that when they first started, there was no competition. And then one day, a competitor came in. So here's the question, or here's a solution in the form of a question. Do you have a service experience that your customers enjoy, regardless of whether you have competition or not? In other words, are you treating them right? Are you treating them with respect? Are you responding appropriately? Are you responding quickly? These are the types of things that if a competitor comes into a market, that you'll be able to work off of these to possibly improve, to thwart off the competition, to ensure that they don't take away your customers. So whether you're a monopoly, a duopoly, or you have multiple competitors, you want to keep in mind that you need to deliver an experience that the customer enjoys. And here's why. And I know I'm getting beyond the question, but this is great information. Your customers don't compare you to a direct competitor anymore. They compare the experience that they have with you to the best service they've ever had from anybody. And that could be a major retailer here in the U.S. Even a business-to-business type of company is being compared to Amazon or other retailers that just deliver an incredible level of service. You could be compared to a restaurant because every time I walk into the restaurant, they know who I am. They make me feel so special. Your customers are starting to expect to get this from every company that they do business with. So the question is, do you want to try to keep up? Well, sure, you should, but you should be thought of as best at what you do. There was another great question about my latest book and the main mistakes businesses make when it comes to customer service and experience. Well, that's a huge question. Let me just address it this way. I believe it's important to get feedback. Feedback is a history lesson that is a very important lesson that lets you know if you're doing a great job. If you're doing a bad job, there's opportunity to improve because your customer is giving you that feedback. And if you're doing a good job, make sure you debrief and find out what can you be doing to ensure that this happens every single time. But here is the point about feedback. Typical feedback is a history lesson. This is the mistake that a lot of companies make. They don't look at the behavior beyond the feedback. What we want to measure is feedback and whether or not we're doing a good job, but we also want to recognize the customer's behavior. Let me give you a simple example. Net Promoter Score, which is the question that goes on the scale of 0 to 10, what's the likelihood that you would recommend us? And if somebody gives you a 10, which is very likely that they would recommend you, do they actually recommend you to others? If somebody says, I'll be back, do they actually come back? You must measure behavior. And the way to do this is to take a look at your typical customers that come back again and again and again. And what is their cadence? What is their routine? What's their buying patterns? How much do they purchase when they do buy? And when you look at those patterns, you can start to understand what a typical customer journey looks like for a regular customer. And by the way, you might have 2 or 3, 4, 5 different versions depending upon the type of items that you have, the service that you have. So don't think that it's just one track. But once you understand what the cadence of that customer is, what can you do to get that first-time customer to move into the routine of a regular customer? And when you start to notice that, you're starting to look at the behavior of the customer, just not the fact that they said, you're a great company and you did a great job. So those are the answers to a couple of questions. I hope you enjoyed this. My name's Shep Hyken, and I would like to remind you to always be amazing.